Once more, I would like to extend a warm greeting to everyone in this third episode of the IP Champion Series, which has been started by the Europe India IP Forum of the EBTC and aimed to highlight IP leaders, especially women, who had made significant contributions and inspired and inspiring us all with their commitment and skills. In today's episode, we have with Archana Shanker, Senior Partner, Head of Department Patents and Designs from ANAND and ANAND. Well, ma'am, you have over 30 years of dedicated practice in prosecution, litigation, opposition, wow, including domains of pharmaceuticals, life sciences, software, ICT, telecom, mechanical electronics, and biodiversity, of course. So, ma'am, welcome in our third episode.
Thank you, Ankita. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I hope for everybody, this is a good beginning of the year. I've kind of traveled a long journey in the IP domain. And if I have to kind of come to very specifics, I have only been very, very focused on patents. So it's not that I've kind of, moved away from patents since the time I started or looked at changing a career. If you look at me, what were my learnings? How did I start this journey? It actually happened by chance because I always wanted to be a medical student. That's the reason I went into, life sciences and biochemistry. There's an old saying, nothing happens in life through accident. It's always there for a reason. I did not make it to medicine. So obviously then I changed my goalpost where I used to idolize women who kind of made a change to the system. And I always thought that maybe if I am in the system, I'll be able to help the system. When you're outside the system, it's a little tough to make that change. And that's when I ventured into law. I took law very seriously at that time when I started my journey as a lawyer. They were very, very traditional and very defined paths that particularly women in that time would have taken. It was either a doctor or a teacher or a professor, or you go into the traditional master's and PhD program and then become a professor. I decided to do things differently. During that time, I did my college from Delhi University. And during that time, what dawned on me is that I decided to join a government program. It's not an internship, it was a project which was by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And I'm talking of like 35 years ago, when I was in my second year of law school. And at that time, we were looking at the patent ecosystem in India. And you can imagine, when you in 1990, today it's fairly evolved. I would say we're kind of long way ahead what we were there. And that's when I started looking at patents for the first time. We didn't have IP courses in college. That's when I actually went deep into patents and I realized that, this is my calling. And I have a good science background, I have a good hold of science and a fairly good analytical mind in the sense that, questioning law, the existence of a particular provision. I just thought that, one can help in this ecosystem. And then from that point, there was no turning back. I joined Remfree for 3 years and then I've been with ANAND now for 29 years. So yeah, 33 years is what I have been in the system. So that was my journey. As I said, nothing happens by accident. There was a reason why
and you have done an incredible job. And I do agree with that if you have that technical inquisitive mind and then you are going for analytical, you have imbibed, good analytical skills. And actually these things are contributing as you have established yourself as a successful IP lawyer. I think. So second question is going to be, what are the key qualities and skills which you think as a successful IP lawyer should have apart from?
So Ankita, when I was in college, one of my professors said that there's no shortcut to success. That kind of, that's well known to everybody, but not too many people follow it. You really want to rise to the top very fast without really doing the groundwork. So I think I did have a couple of advantages. I was there at the right time. I was there at a time when patents was absolutely a virgin area. Like there weren't actually any women in patents, very few. You can count them on your fingers. And I learned from the best. I was mentored by the best. Thirdly, I think I started from scratch in the sense that for me, no job was something below my education or my qualifications. So whether it was designs, whether it was patents, right from writing patents to typing patents to formal like filing it, I did it all. And maybe that's the reason that because I have a good hold on those basic fundamentals, I would like to believe I try not to go wrong there. Nobody's perfect. There is no shame in doing something which is beyond your qualifications, because that will only strengthen your foundation. Learning from your surroundings is extremely important, whether it is your juniors, whether it's your peers, whether it's your home, whether it's your own children, and whether it's from conferences. So conferences is not the only source. Internet is not the only source. You can learn from everywhere. And never shy away from things which you're not comfortable with. If you today ask a biotechnologist to pick up a case for biochemistry, it's going to be hard. Oh, we've never done it. But if you really want to push yourself, you don't have to write a PhD thesis when you're in IP. And if you push yourself, you can, it just gives you a sense of satisfaction. Lastly, I do say one thing for all the youngsters particularly is that change is the only constant. Whatever you get from anywhere, just pick it up. Third, knowledge sharing will only make you more wiser and more knowledgeable.
I think you have actually pinpointed a very, very key point in here. Learn from the surroundings and never shy from unknown. Because you need to learn. You need to learn from everyone and don't see anything. Okay, this is not my profile. This is not my job. Learn from everywhere. So my third question is going to be, because you have spent so many years in here, and which case you see as a milestone which has impacted Indian IP ecosystem?
So Ankita, where the landscape of patents, I would say actually started taking, change in 1995 when we joined the TRIPS agreement. Because before that, there was never so much of impetus or focus on patents, whether it was it was just like filing patents. We were 4,000, 5,000 patent applications we were filing. So I think when we joined the TRIPS agreement, and that when we kind of became a little more international and started, having leveraging in India and having a fair level playing field, it was the year 1995. So if I have to see the landscape, there's a period of where there was decisions in the pharma sector, because that was the key point that kept us away for many years from joining the, modifying our legislation to introduce product care patents. Then there came a regime of telecommunications. So if I have to point out the landmark decision, it is the Supreme Court decision in Novartis. I would say that was one of the most seminal cases that went to court and then went right up to the Supreme Court. That really had a chilling effect. If not for a moment am I suggesting that there haven't been other cases. I think after that we've had the I would say in the pharma, and let me first finish the pharma side, there have been at least the three main decisions. I would like to give credit to even the quasi-judicial authorities like the tribunals, the IPAB. So there was one case of Glaxo, which was the first time in the history that the IPAB upheld a new chemical entity, and with a very, very detailed analysis on all aspects of on patent law, whether it was novelty, inventive step, industrial application, disclosure requirements under Section 8, everything. It covered pretty much the whole space. Then came the Roche versus Cipla decision. So that's been a little rough domain because I was representing it. I've been fortunate that all four cases I was there. We lost at some stage, we won at some stage, but finally we did effectively win. And if you read that order, it's like reading a story. It's an easy read, easy understandable, with so many legal propositions that have been settled by that order of the division bench. Then the third case was the Merck versus Glenmark decision. Again, that was on a new chemical entity. That was also, and the reason why I say these are landmark decisions, because they saw the complete trial. It was not an interim decision of the court. It was not a preliminary. So these are the landmark decisions. After that, we've had many. I think then we saw the second I would take software, where Ferrer-Delani, I would say, is the landmark decision because that's, again, it saw very rough life. We lost at the patent office, we lost at the IPAB, we went to the High Court. And that's when the Delhi High Court, keeping in mind the current technical advancements that we are having when we're talking of AI, IoT, autonomous vehicles and things like that. That's when they said that, you really cannot confine software inventions, or you can't tie it up to a physical being. Third part of the decision, would be in the telecommunication, whether it's by Nokia, whether it's by Ericsson. So I think the third order has been on SAP litigation by Philips, which that was the first order on a standard essential patent by the court in India, although the patent is now over when the decision was rendered. But again, after trial, that was, I think, very recently. Then we've had the Nokia decision on anti-suit injunctions, So that's still at a preliminary stage, but it's a very, very important decision in the test again, because in SAP litigation, you are really looking at trying to get the defendants to, take a license from the innovator. And recently, Justice Manmohan's the division bench order in the